Hi, this is Non-Monogamous Mark, and today I'm going to help you to know if you're a sexual freedom seeker or not. Now stay tuned to the end when I give you a special invitation to know what we're doing for sexual freedom seekers in my business. Now, are you a sexual freedom seeker? Well, let's just go ahead and outline that quickly, and then we'll dig into it a little farther. But a sexual freedom seeker is someone who is curious about, interested in, ready to explore and experience, already in transition to, or someone who, like myself, is already on a journey to personal and professional growth and development, intentionally creating the best version of themselves, living their sexually liberated, ethical, and consensual non-monogamous life, increasing their abundance, liberation, and freedom in their money, their health, and their sex. You see, 11 years ago, in fact, 11 years ago May, which is this month right now, where I'm making this video. 11 years ago in May, my wife and I had a 27-year monogamous marriage. And we opened that marriage. And once we went ahead and opened that marriage, then one of the first things I did is I went out to this meetup. In the Seattle area, there was a very large non-monogamous community. You know, there are swingers up there in the Seattle area. There are also polyamorous people in the Seattle area, and people who don't like to be labeled and identified, but basically people who are non-monogamous. You know, non-monogamy is simply anybody who is really engaging sexually with someone else outside of a primary relationship. And so if you're a couple and you are engaging with other people sexually, even if it's only once a year, Dan Savage would call that monogamish. We call it non-monogamous. And so when I became non-monogamous myself, my wife and I opened our relationship up, I went off in the Seattle area to a meetup group for a discussion that was held every month for people who were consider themselves to be polyamorous. And at that discussion group, you know, I wanted to show up early, and so I showed up about 15 minutes early, and I started to talk to the few people that were there right at the start, and then I didn't feel comfortable being there at all because the comments that people were commenting about. We had just finished an election. I've always been in business for myself, you know, and be self-employed. And they talked about in this group then, they talked about, you know, issues and candidates that were on the election and the ballot, you know, that was over. But, you know, they basically, I remember one of the things that came through really strongly is this is, you know, anybody that would vote like that is just stupid. Well, I voted apparently like a stupid person. And they didn't exactly make anybody feel inviting or embracing or warm and accepted into their community unless they were people who were just like them. And then the more I got to know them, and then I didn't let that first monthly experience tarnish me too badly, I went back several months in a row. And you know, there's a lot of the same people that kind of hung out there. And as I got to know those people, I just felt like that I was out of place with this crowd. They didn't make me feel comfortable at all. And so, and you know, and typically a lot of the people were also not into taking care of their bodies like I was. And I mean, not that I am perfect at it, but you know, I don't want to let myself go too badly. And so anyway, I realized, okay, that's just not my crowd. And so then, you know, I started to explore some of the groups online. And at that time also I found that some of the groups online, they were kind of ruled by some of the old guard people that I didn't relate well with. And so then I went to another facility, another place where they have a monthly poly social. You know, just somewhere where people can come and hang out and talk and chat that identify as polyamorous. And I went to that monthly poly social, and this is probably, it was probably 4 years after I had opened up my relationship. And there was another couple there. In fact, this couple, when they walked into the room, every single guy there just swooped down on them because they were an attractive couple. And compared to the other people in the room, you know, they really took care of their bodies. And so the single guys would just swoop down onto them, and they came into the room and they kind of looked around. You know, there was probably about 30, 40 people there, and they looked around and they didn't see anybody other than myself. And I was there with my partner, my girlfriend at the time, and they didn't see anybody that they really identified with, and I didn't go and swoop down on them. You know, I wait for the fray to kind of thin out a little bit, and then after a while they were just kind of standing around and wandering around a little bit, and so I went over and introduced myself, and the gentleman, he said to me, he says, you know, my girlfriend and I, we've been together for 10 years, and we have just recently started talking about opening up our relationships sexually to other people. We've had some really wonderful experiences, and we just, you know, thought we'd come and check this event out. But we've been to a couple places now. They apparently went to the discussion group that I had been to when I first opened my marriage. Because we've been to a couple places now, and he kind of leans in to me and he says, are there any normal people involved in this lifestyle? You know, and I had to laugh at that because over the years I had girlfriends that would ask me the same thing. You know, are there any normal people, mainstream people that are part of this lifestyle? Because they just felt when I would take them to the functions and events that were available, the people that I dated, they just felt out of place. You know, sometimes I would take my wife and my girlfriend. All three of us would go to a function or event, and we all felt out of place. So the point I'm making in this is that the people that we are creating the sexual freedom seekers movement for are those who live their lives day to day more in the mainstream rather than on the fringes. Professional people and people who have careers and who have educations and responsibilities and what have you. And not that other people don't, but you know, we live in the mainstream, not on the fringes with our lives. And most of the people that I've found over the years that are like myself, people that I really identify with, people where I can say, hey, you know, these are my people. Well, they're really deep in the closet with their non-monogamous life. And some of them don't come out very often. And that's why Dan Savage calls people monogamish, because sometimes these people don't come out of the closet very often. But you see, I wanted to make my non-monogamous life a part of who I am. I didn't want to continue living a monogamous life anymore. And those are people who we are creating this movement for sexual freedom seekers for. Is people who, yes, they may be deep in the closet, but they don't want to really, they don't want to live a monogamous life where they're just exclusive all the time with one person. They want to live more of a non-monogamous life, or as the description says, that they're curious about living a non-monogamous life, or they're interested in living a non-monogamous life, or they're ready to start exploring and experiencing, or maybe they're already in transition, or like myself, they're already living a non-monogamous life. But the difference is that they live their life as part of a journey. They don't just kind of go through life for a few years and then stop suddenly and get stuck somewhere. And that's what I mean by so many of the people that I would encounter, is that people who got stuck in their lives, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and then they get stuck there and just start putting weight on a little bit every year and kind of keep staying in the same people. They're not growing, they're not changing. And so the journey that we talk about that sexual freedom seekers are on is that they're on a personal and professional growth and development journey. They're intentionally creating the best version of themselves they possibly can. So they're really into self-improvement, and they're into motivation, and they're into, you know, things that's going to take and improve their lives and make their lives better. And they want to, like if they're parents, if they have kids, they want to be the best parents they can be, and they actually seek out education to try to learn how to be the best parents they can be, instead of just going on default and things of that nature, going along with what comes along or being on autopilot. And so they live their life as a sexually liberated life, ethically and consensually non-monogamous life. And I have a video where I've talked about the difference between being sex positive and sexual liberation. Yes, sex positive is kind of like the first step on the rung of the ladder. You know, you've got to become sex positive where you're accepting of other people's sexuality without judgment as long as it's consensual. But then that doesn't mean that they will live a life and be on a journey to live a life that is not going to limit themselves and restrict themselves and limit and restrict their partners sexually because of things like jealousy and possessiveness and these kinds of things. And so that they're sexually liberated and they seek more of a freedom in their expression of their sexuality and or their expression of love. It's more about abundance and liberation and freedom. And so then the thing about sexual freedom seekers is that they not only create a life that's ethically and consensually non-monogamous that is also sexually liberated, but they also want to apply that same principles, those same concepts of increasing their abundance, their liberation, their freedom when it comes to their finances, you know, money, and being able to have a lot of money if they want to have a lot of money, live in the nicest of houses and then have the nicest of cars and educations for their kids. And so they don't see that there's a problem with making lots of money. In fact, they think that people ought to make more of it. And then same thing with their health. They don't buy off on just going to the doctor and getting involved in the dependent care situation. We don't have a health care situation in America. We've got a dependent care. You become dependent on medications, become dependent on the medical industry, and then look at how much money people spend for what this system we call health care, which is dependent care is. You know, it's a huge amount of everybody's income. And so we kind of are starting to think that it's better to be not involved in that dependent care system and instead seek other ways to be health conscious and to be well, to have our bodies, to take care of our bodies, things like this. And so we increase our abundance, our liberation, our freedom in our finances, in our health, and also our sex life. And so that's, of course, then really the focus of sexual freedom seekers, because we find that sex is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Sex creates this energy, and most people don't understand just how powerful that energy is. And so we take people who want to be more abundant and liberated and free sexually, and we help to kind of introduce them to some other concepts and ideas and help them to have the support, the education, the opportunities so they can thrive in their lives as being sexually abundant, liberated, and free, but also increase their income and have better health. And those are the things that we focus on doing in Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. And that's my nonprofit that I started, is a nonprofit business called Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. And so there's three things that we do. We stretch and exercise your mental muscle so you can increase your abundance, your liberation, your freedom in your financial life, your health, and also your sex life. You watch my videos that talk about all those areas. And also we help you to get on track or to stay on track or to find a better track to get on but not get stuck. That track will take you to living your life at the highest level possible in your finances, your health, and also your sex life. And then the third thing that we really focus on doing for you is that we provide you with an education, information, tools, support, and opportunities to live your life on a journey of being the best version of you possible. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and go ahead and click on that link down below and find out more about the Sexual Freedom Seekers movement, more about Non-Monogamous Mark, and also Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. Get on our email list, subscribe to that. You know, and if you're watching this video and you've subscribed before, I just today learned that there's been a broken link or something's been broken for over a year. And so all those people who've been subscribing, they never got a subscription to our email. So go ahead and subscribe again if you're not hearing from us regularly. And so subscribe again. Just click on that link. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and give us a comment or a question in the comment section. Thanks a lot. Have yourself a really great week.